Hey guys, this is the Movie Hour. I'm your host Danny, and alongside me, my co-host and sister Vanessa.
Hello.
The Movie Hour is your friendly neighborhood podcast where we talk about and make fun of all our favorite films, from the good, the bad, and the downright ridiculous. In this episode, we'll be talking about the 1985 science fiction film Back to the Future. So, get your tickets, grab your popcorn, sit back, make yourselves comfortable, and enjoy this episode of the Movie Hour. Back to the Future is a 1985 science fiction film directed by Robert Zemeckis. I hope I'm saying that right. He's a highly underrated director. Highly underrated. I didn't even know he had this many amazing films in his filmography, but he's directed Back to the Future trilogy, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Forrest Gump,
Ooh.
Castaway, The Polar Express,
Oh, wow.
and Beowulf, just to name a few. So a lot of bangers on this one.
Yeah, that's a lot of heavy hitters.
I know. I mean, just with Back to the Future and like Forrest Gump, that's like good enough. But then he has Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Polar Express, which is a Christmas classic. So just
All right.
yeah, really good filmography.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So the film cast includes Michael J. Fox as Marty McFly, Christopher Lloyd as Doc Brown, Leah Thompson as Lorraine, Marty's mom, Crispin Glover as George, Marty's dad, and Thomas F. Wilson as Biff Tannen. It has a runtime of 116 minutes, so an hour and 56 minutes, just under the 2 hour mark, and can be watched on Peacock and Fubo TV with subscriptions, of course, as of the time of this recording. This is an all-time classic. I think everybody should watch this at least once.
Yeah, this is a really good movie. Can you believe I've never watched it before?
I know, I'm really surprised that it's like your first time watching it.
Yeah, I knew the plot. I feel like it's one of those movies where it's like so popular that you're like, okay, I feel like I know what happens. Kind of like the Titanic, right? You know what happens.
Right.
But I'm glad that I did watch it. It was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, it's very I don't know how to say it, but it's just like a lot of good energy, a lot of almost cheesy 80s energy, but in a good way.
Yeah. No, literally, it's very it makes you feel good. I don't know
Yeah.
why, but it does.
Yes, like I don't know. We were watching this on Sunday to get familiar with it again because this is probably my third or fourth time I seen it,
Oh, okay.
and yeah, every time I watch it, I'm just like in a good mood. It's just like you said, it puts you in a good mood, happy.
Yeah, no. It's a good one for sure.
Oh yeah, so yeah, I think this is one of those films, kind of like some of the films that we've done, like Halloween, 12 Angry Men, and this one. These are like films that I think everybody should see at least once.
Yeah, I actually agree now that I've watched it. I think everyone would like something about this movie.
Yes, exactly. And I watched it with my family and my daughter. She loved it, and which I was
Oh,
surprised.
right.
Yeah, like
I'm yeah, I'm surprised too. That's great.
yeah, I thought she was gonna not like it, and she's like, "Oh, can we watch the other ones?" I'm like, "Well, not today, but we could watch definitely like continue watching them."
I do want to watch the other two for sure.
This is one of those trilogies. Like there's very few trilogies where all three of them are good, and this is like one of them.
I've heard that. I've heard that the other ones are not, completely disappointing, which is good to hear.
Yeah, no, they're really good. I don't think they're as good as this one, but they're very good.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely tune in for those then.
Oh yeah, so and hopefully in the future we can do the other three or the other two in this one.
Ooh, yeah, definitely. We'll make a note of it.
Well, the thing with the other two is like you have to watch this one to know what's going on in the second one and then what's going on in the third one.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, this is not one that you can just jump in and like kind of get the feel for it. Like you have to see the first one.
Yes, definitely.
But yeah, so anyways, like I said, this is an all-time classic and I'm happy that we're doing it.
Yeah, me too.
All right. So, when this episode airs, it'll be Thanksgiving. So, to everybody, happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
Hope
happy
you have a
Thanksgiving, guys. This is from
yeah,
me and okay.
right. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Eat lots of food and always be safe.
Yes, precisely.
All right. So as we dive in, be warned there are spoilers ahead. So without further ado, let's begin. So the film begins in 1985, where teenage Marty McFly lives in Hill Valley, California, with his depressed alcoholic mother, Lorraine, his two other siblings, who are professional and social failures, and his weak nerd father, George, who is constantly bullied by his supervisor, Biff Tannen.
Mm.
And I think that guy, that Biff, he's like your stereotypical 80s bully, and I love it.
Yeah, I know, right? It makes me sad though. I hate
Oh,
seeing
yeah,
him bullied, but it is very like telling of the time. I feel like it's very 80s code.
especially because he's like, "What do you want, butthead?"
Yeah, right.
So pretty funny. After Marty's band fails a music audition, he confides in his girlfriend Jennifer Parker that he fears becoming like his parents despite his ambitions, which is a bit harsh, but honestly not wrong.
Yeah, I think especially seeing how his parents are, I wouldn't necessarily want to be exactly like them either.
Right?
So,
And it's kind
yeah,
of
definitely harsh, but truthful?
but truthful, yeah. And it's kind of weird because he's like mm, I guess you don't see him too much with people from his time, but it seems like he's like a cool teenager, you know?
Yeah, right?
And like
I
his family are not cool, so it's kind of weird that he, went the opposite way.
yeah, how'd he get cool?
Um, that night, Marty meets his eccentric scientist friend Emmett Doc Brown in Twin Pines Mall parking lot, which I don't know if in the sequels it says it, but this one it's funny that it never explains how they meet.
Yeah. It's just they just run into each other, I guess.
Well, it's like they know each other, but like, I guess my question is like, how? Like, how did they run into each other? You know?
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't give that backstory or that history, really.
And I don't know. Like I said, I've seen the other ones. It's been a long time, so I don't really remember. But honestly, I kind of like it like that. Like I always say, the less more approach. I really like that.
It is interesting. I mean, I feel like, you know, if it's not necessary, don't put it in, but also it would have been interesting to see it. So it's definitely an artistic choice.
Definitely. Yeah, exactly. But I think for the sake of this movie, I think it works pretty well.
Yeah, I guess it's not really like imperative to the story, you know? It's just like, hey, we're here now, let's keep it going.
Exactly. That's very well put. Yeah. Um, Doc unveils that he has a time machine built from a modified DeLorean, which is so iconic. This everybody knows this car.
It is
Um,
pretty iconic, I'm not gonna lie. Like, just seeing the car, I was like, that's so cool.
and it's funny because that DeLorean, like, I don't know, like, that company went under.
Yeah, right.
So it's kind of weird that they decided to make that car, the Back in the Future car or Back to the Future car. They could have used other vehicles, whatever. So I kind of wonder why they went with the DeLorean.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good point. They could have done any other like brand or even like luxury or whatever, but they chose that. So maybe for like the style of the car, I don't know. It is interesting. I wonder why. There has to be some sort of background on that.
Yeah, definitely. I'm pretty sure it has to do something with the time. Probably like really popular at the time.
Right.
And so, but yeah, anyways, I just think that it's really iconic. Everybody's seen this car. And I love the way the doors open and just everything about it's like really cool.
The Doors is pretty cool. Like even I feel like especially at that time, it was probably like, whoa, this is like next level.
Exactly. Um, so this car is powered by plutonium, which Doc swindled from some Libyan terrorists. After Doc inputs a destination time of November 5th, 1955, the first day he conceived his time travel invention, and also 30 years in the past, the terrorists arrive unexpectedly and gun him down. Marty flees in the DeLorean, inadvertently activating time travel when he reaches 88 miles per hour. Now arriving in 1955, Marty discovers he has no plutonium and he cannot return back to 1985.
Mm.
So while exploring and developing Hill Valley, Marty encounters his teenage father and discovers Biff was bullying George even back then.
Aw, that's sad. It's
It's funny
hilarious
though.
though, but that is sad.
I raised this question when I was watching it on Sunday, and I'm gonna ask it to you. Do
Oh,
you
go.
think, okay, let's just take your 15, 16-year-old self, right?
Okay.
So you would have been 15 in what, like 2015, right?
Yes.
So you take your 15-year-old self and you go back to, I guess, what would it be when Dad's 15? 1984?
Yeah.
Do you think that you would be friends with them?
Ooh. Do I think I would be friends with him? Yeah,
And
I
not
think
just your,
so.
like, not just dad, but like mom. Do you think, like, if all of you guys are 15 again at the same
Yes.
time, do you think you would get along with them and,
I think I would get along with dad because I feel like we're so similar. So I
right?
feel like we definitely would vibe. I feel like me and mom probably wouldn't. I feel like she would definitely she would eat me alive at that age. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like she literally would eat me alive. But me and dad, we would click.
And that's funny. I kind of think the opposite.
Oh, really? Wait, for you or for
Yeah.
me?
For me,
Oh, yeah. Oh, for you, yeah. I agree.
I feel like me and mom would get along better. Not saying like me and dad wouldn't get along, but it'd just be, I don't know.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
So yeah, that's an interesting question. I brought it up on Sunday when I was watching it, and I was just like, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see them because, the way we see our parents is in a certain way.
Yeah, 100%.
And to go back at 15 years old, where we kind of all of us don't really have our head on all the way yet, right?
Oh, yeah, we're
And
all idiots.
exactly. So to go back at that time and like interact with each other, it'd be interesting.
It would be very funny.
It'd be interesting, and then there's always that thing in your head, like you're like, oh man, this is my dad, this is my mom, like what the heck?
Yeah, it's like weird, like this isn't supposed to happen.
Exactly. So, anyways, I just thought of bringing that question up. I definitely see the way you're saying it for you, and I think the opposite for me.
Yeah, isn't that funny how it differs? I love that. That's very telling.
Yeah, exactly. So, um, let me see. So Marty catches George spying or peeping on Lorraine, changing from a tree. He falls into the middle of the street and Marty pushes him to safety while getting hit by Lorraine's father, which is his grandfather.
Right?
And basically, the family story of how they met, because nobody knows how they met or like really got together, right?
Right.
Is that George inadvertently, they never say why he was in the middle of the street, but he was in the middle of the street. Lorraine's father hits him, and I guess while he's healing, I guess she falls in love with him right there.
Yep. Which is
But
kind of
since
cute. I
yeah, it
kind of
is.
feel like it's very on par with like what like when your parents tell you a story, they'll tell you like the main parts of it, but they won't tell you like backstory or anything. I feel like that's how this was like this is how that came off, if that makes sense.
Yes, yes, exactly. And it's funny because, like you said, it is a cute story, except when you find out that George is peeping on Lorraine changing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot about that part. No. It is he got his karma, but also not really because he kind of won in the end.
Right, exactly, exactly. But obviously, since doing that, now Marty's gonna change the future.
Yep.
So he wakes up to find himself tended by Lorraine, who becomes infatuated with him, even believing his name is Calvin Klein due to the name being on his underwear.
Which is so funny. Like that's such a funny little touch that they put on.
Exactly, and I think it's just funny too that like if you remember in the beginning, Lorraine, she says like she's this very prude person, like, oh, I didn't chase boys.
Oh yeah, women didn't chase men. We didn't. What did she say? She's like, we don't hang out in cars like you guys do now.
Exactly, but then you go back in time and you see, yeah, you're full of crap, lady.
Yeah, she just likes to remember it differently. She's a good Christian now.
Well, I think that happens with older people or whenever you get older, not everybody, but we like to believe it a different way than it really happened.
Oh yeah, you know what? Nobody's there to corroborate, so we're just gonna say what we feel like.
Right. Exactly. We're gonna take the good parts and leave out all the bad parts.
Precisely, exactly what I'll be doing. No, I'm just kidding.
So Marty tracks down and convinces a younger Doc, and I thought this was funny because he looks the exact same.
Yeah, he does, which is like I do like that. It is hilarious.
That he is from the future, but Doc explains that the only source available in 1955 capable of generating 1.21 gigawatts of power that's required for time travel is a lightning bolt.
Mm,
Marty shows. I know, huh?
tough.
Tough. Marty shows Doc a flyer from the future that documents an upcoming lightning strike at the town's courthouse. As Marty's siblings begin to fade from a picture he carries with him, Doc realizes Marty's actions are altering the future and jeopardizing his existence.
Ooh, scary. Scary position to be in.
Well, yeah, and I think well, one, I don't believe time travel is possible, but just because I think we'd mess it up way too much.
Yeah. Oh yeah, things will get screwed very quickly.
Right, so like, I mean, you've heard of the butterfly effect, right?
Yep.
So in my head, when Marty pushes George out of the way, basically he's already like destroyed himself and his family or his brothers, because I mean, it's not gonna be the exact same no more.
Right, and that's such a big change in the story, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
it's not like, you know, you picked up a leaf off the ground and the exact same sequence of events happened. This is like you really, really, really changed up the story here.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's in my head. I was thinking like, based on that theory, Marty should already be erased.
Yeah, no, I agree with your theory. I definitely see where you're coming from.
Right. So with Marty's actions altering the future and jeopardizing his existence, Lorraine was supposed to fall in love with George, but instead is falling for Marty after the car accident. Early attempts to get his parents acquainted fail, and Lorraine's infatuation with Marty deepens after Marty protects them from Biff. And
Scary.
this is just a hilarious and almost, I don't know, almost a scary situation if you think about it because your mother is falling in love with you.
Ugh, yeah, that's so deeply uncomfortable. And then you also like if you're in Marty's shoes, you have to like be nice, but also you can't give it away like, hey, you're my mom, but you don't know it yet, but like this is weird.
Exactly. So yeah, it's just a weird situation to be put in.
Yeah, definitely. But hey, for a movie, it's interesting.
Oh yeah, it's hilarious and it makes a good movie.
Yeah, 100%.
So Lorraine asked Marty to the school dance, and again, I thought she said that she doesn't chase boys.
Yeah, whatever happened to that?
Oh. Yeah, what happened to that, Lorraine?
Yeah, she switched up quickly. No, just kidding.
And Marty plots to feign inappropriate advances on her, allowing George to intervene and rescue her. But the plan goes awry when Biff's gang locks Marty in the trunk of the performing band's car at the school dance. While Biff forces himself onto Lorraine, George arrives expecting to find Marty, but is assaulted by Biff. After Biff hurts Lorraine, an enraged George knocks him unconscious and escorts the grateful Lorraine to the dance. And this is one of the most satisfying moments in the whole movie to me.
Oh, yeah, he got exactly what he deserved.
Exactly, and what I really liked is that George finally stood up for himself.
Right? It's like he finally got that bit of confidence. That's what he needed. A little push. Something to, light fire under his feet.
Exactly, and I love that, and I'm glad that happened.
Yeah, no, that was a good scene.
That was a really good scene. So now we get to one of the most iconic scenes in the entire movie. The whole movie's iconic, but this next sequence is probably the most parody, the most reenacted scenes like in any movie almost.
Right.
The band frees Marty from their car, but the lead guitarist injures his hand in the process, so Marty takes his place performing while George and Lorraine finally share their first kiss as was prophesized, right?
Right.
As was, expected and everything. And we also get the iconic performance of Marty performing Johnny B. Good.
So good.
So good. And I love that moment where I guess his Chuck Berry's cousin Marvin, he's like, "It's Marvin, your cousin Marvin."
Yeah.
He's like, "This is like the new style that you've been wanting," and he puts the phone while Marty is playing. And I
Right.
also love how Marty, still an 80s teenager, starts playing heavy metal. And everybody's going like, "What the heck is going on?"
Right. They're not caught up yet.
And what I really love is it's such an obscure scene, but I really love that he's like, you guys will not like it, but your children will love this.
So true. So
And I really
true.
like that. I mean, he's an
No,
80s teenager.
yeah, I was gonna say I love that point that you just made because like yes, he's still at the end of the day he's still an 80s teenager. So even though he's trying to, quote unquote assimilate to like the world, the state of the world that he's in now, like at the end of the day, the kid's an 80s kid. You got to let him play the music.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know, I guess I just really like that scene too, because like, growing up with dad, he's an 80s teenager, so we heard a lot of heavy metal and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So to me, it's kind of like, yeah, I understand where this is coming from now.
Right, we can co-sign that one.
And another question I was gonna raise to you and see what you think. How do you think,
Ooh.
let's see, what would 30 years ago be like? 19, well,
Oh my.
1994, right?
Yes.
Oh, wow. How do you think you would go right now in this time going to 1994?
What do you mean? Like,
Like, do you think you would assimilate quick? You think you'd be like stand
ooh.
out like a sore thumb?
That's a good one. I don't know. I think I would try to assimilate. I would probably do like 90s grunge type beat.
Yeah, right.
But you know what? I feel like I would stick out like a sore thumb at the end of the day, honestly.
Yeah, I think when we first get there, we would definitely like if you remember in the movie, everybody always points to Marty and he's like, "Oh, are you like a sailor or something? You got your
Yeah.
what did they say? He's got his life vest or something like that?"
Yeah, because he has that little like red sweater vest, whatever on.
Right. So like I think definitely if we go back, we're gonna stick out like sore thumbs, like, yeah, there's something weird with this guy.
No, I feel like I definitely would. Also because like, now we're so reliant on our phones and stuff. So I feel like going back in the 90s and like having to use the house phone and stuff, which I mean, granted, we did have house phone like growing up, but like, back then that was just the norm. And now
Right.
it's like, it's just so out in the past. So I would try to assimilate, but I think it would catch on very fast that like I'm not from this era.
I think so too with me. I think basically all your points I would probably suffer from as well, but I think I would like that change, kind of going back to that time where, there's a little bit of, like, for example, right now we're so connected that any question we have, we can just Google it, right?
Right.
And back then, when there was no Google, or at least not like mainstream like it is now, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure, I know they had internet, but it was a whole different beast back then.
100%.
There's something to not knowing everything.
Yeah, I
There's
agree.
something to going to the
Yeah.
like library and having to look something up.
Yeah, I mean that's a skill. Honestly, that is such a really really valuable skill to have to like, okay, can you find out information without it being, point 0.3 seconds on your phone? I feel
Right.
like most people these days probably can't. I mean, I can, I went to college, so I understand like I understand how to research things and find things in a library, but not to say I would be as good as it someone from like the 90s.
Right. Right. Exactly. So I think that's where we would suffer the most. But I don't know. I would like that challenge and that almost freedom. I feel like that we'd have back then. That we're not like so connected to everything.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I love that question. I feel like, yeah, I mean, if I was given the opportunity to do that, I definitely would take it just to see, like, okay, what's really going on. Also, like music and pop culture, like I just feel like that aspect would be so fun.
Right, right. Because we're living in a different time than in 1994.
Right. There was no Sabrina Carpenter and Olivia Rodrigo back then.
No, and then it hadn't even happened yet. But the biggest crisis was like Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky.
Dun dun dun.
Dun.
Scandalous. I know. See, that would be fun knowing like big historical events before it happened. I'd be like, you guys are in for a doozy.
Right, but that was just a incident that happened. But now it's like everything is like that. You know,
Oh yeah.
everything
100%.
because we're so connected. So all these politicians and celebrities and artists, we know all these things about them now that in the '90s they were probably still doing, but like I said, we're less connected.
Right. Very Diddy coded.
Exactly. So, anyways, I just thought that was an interesting question to ask, and like I said, I like the opportunity, like you said, to go back in that time, and I feel like almost be free,
No, 100%. And that's, you know what, let's raise this question to the audience. Guys, if you're watching this on YouTube, drop us a comment and let us know, would you like to go back to the 90s from now? And if you would, why and why not?
Yeah, for sure. That's a good question. Yeah,
It'll
I
be
like
interesting
that.
because our viewers are definitely they're there's not like a monolith of ages. They're all different. So I feel like the experiences would be different. So I'm curious to see what you guys have to say.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I think that'd be very interesting. So yeah, good question.
All right.
So with his future no longer in jeopardy, Marty hurries to the courthouse to meet Doc. Doc discovers a letter from Marty warning him about his future and rips it, worried about the consequences. To save Doc, Marty recalibrates the DeLorean to return 10 minutes before he had left to the future. The lightning strikes, sending Marty back to 1985, but the DeLorean breaks down, forcing Marty to run back to the mall. And it's so funny if you noticed, I don't know if you paid attention to this little detail, but when he first left to go back to 1955, the mall was called Twin Pikes or Twin Pines. When he comes back, or back to 1985, uh, it's now like just what is it like Solo Pine or One Pine Mall?
Yes, I think it's Loan. I actually saw that. Okay,
Alone.
so I
Yeah.
never noticed that. I didn't notice that when I watched it, but then, our phones are like listening to every single thing that we do. So I saw a TikTok that was talking about that, and I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, because I think the DeLorean when he goes, he hits one of the twin no, yeah, Twin Pines. Um,
Yes,
or I guess when he gets back in 1955, he hits it, one of those, and anyways, it changes the future. So I thought that was a good
right.
little detail.
No, it definitely, I didn't, I wish I noticed it at first, but I didn't. And now, reflecting back, that is a nice little detail that the directors put in.
Yeah, exactly. And there's probably more that we don't even know.
Yeah, right.
So, as he arrives, Doc is being shot, and while Marty grieves at his side, Doc sits up, revealing he had pieced Marty's note back together and wore a bulletproof vest. He takes Marty home and departs to 2015 in the DeLorean.
Wow.
Um, yeah, I know. That's a time that we lived in now.
I know. I love the 2010, so that means a lot to me.
Yeah, that was a good era.
So I was thinking about this just randomly, but I like experienced kind of every step of my life in the 2010s cuz in 2010 I was in 5th grade, and then afterwards I was in middle school, and then in 2014 I started high school, And then 2018, I started college.
Right.
So I've hit like elementary, middle, high school, and college all in the 2010s. So very iconic to
Yeah, I
me.
never thought of that. That's true. Well, for me it was different because I was already a teenager by the time the 2010s came.
Yep.
But, also I went through a lot of phases like you did where I went to high school and then I went to college and then I graduated college and then I was an adult and, all this other stuff. So it's pretty interesting that at the time I didn't like the 2010s. I thought they
Yeah,
sucked and I'd
nobody.
rather be in the 2000s.
Yeah, I feel like nobody liked the 2010s. I mean, don't get me wrong, there were some cringy moments in there, but now that we're in the 2020s, I'm like, God, I miss the 2010s.
Yeah, exactly. There's just something to it.
There is something about, I don't know, something in the air. The music, pop culture, movies, all of it. I love it.
Yeah, it was a different time, I think. Now it's like very hypersensitive and too political.
Yeah, definitely.
And I don't know, maybe because we were younger, maybe that could be a thing also, but I don't remember like really having to worry about all this stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
But like I said, it could be a thing of the time, so who knows.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, Marty wakes up the next morning and discovers his father is now a confident and successful science fiction author.
All
His mother,
right.
yeah, I know, I felt happy for him.
Yeah, that's a good ending.
Exactly, yeah. And his mother is now fit and happy. His siblings are successful, and Biff is his servile valet to George.
Ooh, love to see it. We love it. We love a good underdog story.
Yes, exactly. And I really love the next part because it basically sets up a part two.
Right.
With as Marty reunites with his girlfriend Jennifer, Doc suddenly reappears in the DeLorean, insisting they must return with him to the future to save their children from a terrible fates. And then the end.
The end. Which you're so right. It does lead it off to like the perfect sequel.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is good because some films they don't have they don't set it up for a sequel because they really weren't expecting to do a sequel.
Right. Exactly.
And with this one, I guess they knew that, what they had was good and wanted to do more, and I think it sets it up perfectly.
Yeah, no, I definitely I like that. I do love when movies set it up. I feel like sometimes when movies have their sequel, it's like, wait a minute, where did this come from? That's kind of random.
Well, yeah, because I think sometimes they gotta make something up because they really weren't expecting a sequel.
Yes, exactly.
A perfect example, and again, I haven't seen the sequel to this, so I can't really speak, too in depth. But
Can I
like,
guess what it is?
well, okay, let me see.
I have a feeling you're gonna say Joker.
You know me too well.
Dude, I knew it. How do I know you so well? Somebody tell me.
So Joker was a great movie. We saw it actually at the theaters, remember?
Yeah, that movie's goated.
Yeah, that movie is really goated. I really loved it. Um, I thought it was great because it was more like a character study, not so much a superhero movie.
Yes, precisely.
Right? Because, Batman's not even a thing.
Yeah,
He's
he's
never even
not. Yeah,
mentioned.
right.
So, and then the Joker, he's not the Joker that we expect. He's kind of like this mentally ill loner, right?
Yes,
So the movie ends in such a great way where he kind of gets his win and the city of Gotham is, going into chaos and rioting and it
good.
ends, right?
Yes.
But then, they make a sequel which again, I haven't seen the sequel, so I really can't talk too much in depth, but to me it's like that movie didn't need a sequel.
No, I totally agree. I feel like the sequel is super just random, like just not necessary. And granted, maybe it's good. And for clarity, I haven't seen the sequel either. But I just feel like the first movie was so good that it could have easily just ended there and just have been good. Now you have to take into account that it has a sequel, and the sequel is just more than likely probably not as good as the first one, let's be honest.
Exactly. And then this one, the Joker movie, it didn't set it up for a sequel.
Right. Yes, exactly. So, I mean, the plot, I don't even know, but I don't even know what it's about, but I'm sure it's not even half as good as the first one.
Right, because like I don't know, to me it almost seemed like a standalone movie, like it's just a one-time deal.
Yes, exactly. You come
But this
in, you
one,
watch what you get.
yeah. But this one is great because you want to know more because now you want to know about the kids, like Marty's kids, right?
Right. You're
And
invested.
also, yeah, and then also like I said, I don't know if I forgot in the other ones. I wish I remembered, but I don't know if like you find out how they met, Doc and Marty.
Right.
So, it just leaves so many things to be explored that the viewer wants to explore.
No, I totally agree. And hopefully I can watch the second one soon.
Yeah, yeah, that's on my to watch list.
All right. Good deal.
All right. So, um with that all being said, this was my movie recommendation. Like I said, I love this film. It's one of my favorite films. It's just a classic. I think anyone from any generation can enjoy it. It just holds up so well, you know. Um,
Definitely.
story wise, characters, they're just all great. So yeah, I really love this movie.
Good. Yeah, this was a really good recommendation. I'm glad that I got to watch it.
Yeah, I remember that you told me you were watching it and then you stopped watching it,
Yes.
which I was like, oh man, she's probably not gonna like it, and um, I'll see on your rating, but based on what you told me, it seems like you really liked it.
Yeah, I think this movie was really interesting, and I think you really summed it up perfectly. I think that it's super fun to watch, it's classic, and it just still holds up. Like, it's not cringy, it's just, I don't know, it's a feel good movie. I
Yes,
really enjoyed it, and I feel like, I'm not from the 80s. Obviously, I didn't grow up in the 80s, but even me being a 2000s kid watching this movie, like, it made me miss the 80s.
right. It's just like I don't know. Like it almost like takes you back to that time, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like, even just like the clothing and the hair and all of that, like it is very telling of the time, but not in like a cringy dated way. It's like almost like a preservation way, if that makes sense.
Right. And then I think like kind of like you said, I mean, if you were to do this film now in this time, even if it's based on 1985, I feel like it's so far removed from that time that it'll be kind of cringy and not authentic, right?
Right.
But since this movie was actually made in 1985 and the year's supposed to be, 1985, I think it
Right.
captures it well. Like you said, it's like a time capsule.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I do like that they didn't, they did the movie, they set the movie the same year that it was made, which I do really, really like that. I think that was
Right.
really cool, and the way you just worded it is perfect. Like, it was more of like a time capsule because it really was telling of the time, you know? I mean, how
Yes,
are you going to do 1985 better than in 1985?
exactly, and you get the way people talked and the way they dressed and all this stuff. So like if you were to do this movie in 2024, it'd be off because, it's so far removed from that time.
Actually, that's so funny that you bring this up. So, have you seen like the controversy with the new 2003 movie on Netflix?
No. Mm-mm.
So apparently, I don't think it's out yet. I think it's coming out in like the next year or so. But basically, there's this movie that's going to be released on Netflix, and it's like it's comes out in 2024, but it's supposed to be set in 2003. Like, this girl is a high schooler, and she gets transported back to 2003 for whatever reason, kind of like what we're talking about now. And there's like a lot of buzz around it because a trailer came out, and it does not look like 2003 at all.
Is it Time Cut?
Maybe.
I seen that one.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's the same one because yeah, yeah, I think this is the one you're talking about because the girl in the movie, she goes back in the past to see her sister, which is 2003. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it has come out. Okay, I saw it on I think it was Twitter that I saw it, and I even just watching it, it doesn't scream 2003 to me. I feel like they might have dropped the ball, but you've seen it, so what do you think of it?
Well, I was around in 2003. I was a young, I was a kid. Uh, But yeah, the time is no, it's not authentic.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. Like, I mean, obviously I was 3 years old in 2003, so like my opinion doesn't really matter, but I just feel like the clothing, the hair, I don't know, it just doesn't scream 2003.
No, you know what it screams? It screams 2024 trying to beat 2003.
Literally, like if you were just given like, okay, you have a few resources, make it 2003. Like they tried their best, but it didn't hit the spot, you know?
Exactly. So that's a perfect way to say it. I forgot about that. That and plus that movie's not that great. I mean, it wasn't horrible, but I wouldn't watch it again.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. I was, ever when I saw the trailer for it on Twitter, I was like, I'm not really interested. Typically, I feel like that would be like under my wing, but I don't know. I'm just not convinced. So, good to know that I'm not missing out.
No, if you want a better movie than that one, which this one basically copies it, it's called Totally Killer.
Totally
Um,
killer. Hey.
yeah, I think it's on Amazon Prime. Anyways, it's basically the same plot, but just done better.
All right. See, that's probably going to
So
be more up
if you're gonna
my.
watch one of them, watch that Totally Killer.
Okay, I'm going to put it on my list right now.
Yeah, I think you like that one. It has I forgot her name, but it's the one of the mom from Modern Family, the Claire.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I forgot her name, but she's in that movie, and yeah, it's a good one.
Yes, yes, yes. I don't know her actual name, but I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, so I think if you're gonna watch a movie like that, watch that one better. That's a better use of your time.
All right.
But yeah, so anyways, good point. I really like that. So yeah, so um, I just think this is a timeless movie, and it's like I said, it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it was a good one. So, cheers to that.
Yep, definitely. So we'll now go to our rating. If you don't know our rating system, 1 star is equal to 1 tub of popcorn on a scale of 10. I'll go first. To me, I mean, this is a obvious 10 out of 10 tubs of popcorn.
All right. Why 10 out of 10?
Well, it's almost a simple story, which is weird because time travel can get complicated,
Yeah,
right?
right?
But this is just almost a simple story. It's amazing. There's not a flaw in it. It's from the time you watch it to the time it ends, it's just entertaining. And it's one of those films that like when you put it on, the time flies and you're like, wait, it's almost done. And you think it's only been like 20 minutes, but it's already been like an hour and 50 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, and like I was saying before, the characters, the story are timeless. Um, the cultural impact of this film, I mean, it can still be seen today. We were talking earlier before we did the podcast about the Family Guy parodies,
Yes, so good.
but there's so many parodies everywhere with this film. More Rick and Morty, that's a parody of this film, you know.
Yep, definitely.
So, anyways, it's just one of those films that has such a cultural impact. I mean, I don't know. The only ones I can think of are maybe like Indiana Jones, Godfather.
Right. Right.
That even if you've never seen it, some of these scenes just because it's been done in so many shows.
Yes, 100%. That's a good comparison.
Yeah, and then this is one of the few films that I will call perfect. And the reason I say that is because whether it be your style or not your style, there's really nothing wrong with it. You can't really find something like bad with it.
Yes,
Now you may not
100%.
like it, but it's just great.
Yeah, that's a good not critique, but like that's a good note to make.
Right. And I've seen interviews. It's with the Letterbox channel on YouTube, right? And they interview actors and directors and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And if you guys don't know, in Letterbox, it's this app, which I suggest you guys get. It's a really cool app that you can track your movies and all that stuff. And one of the good features is that you have your top 4 favorite movies, right?
Yep.
So the question is that they always ask actors and directors and just people associated with movies is what are your top four favorite movies? And w- the one that gets the most on the top four is Back to the Future.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah. So many actors and directors and all these other people, they place Back to the Future in their top four, like the most.
Wow, that's great. I did not know
Yeah.
that.
So like I said, it's one of the few films that I can call perfect. So
Good deal. Well, that's great. I love it.
yeah. So what's your rating?
My rating is 9 out of 10.
Ooh,
And
okay. Why is that?
9 out of 10 tubs of popcorn and not 10 out of 10 simply because I think we've mentioned this previous episodes, but I am a little more conservative when it comes to like my 10 out of 10s.
Right.
So I like to reserve that for like my Carries, my Gone Girls, Requiem for Dreams. Um, this movie, I think you mentioned it earlier, but this movie is very simple, which I
Yeah.
love. I think it fits so well for this movie. It's so easy to watch. You get so engrossed in it so quickly. It's so entertaining. The characters are good. The plot is simple but good. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this film. I really, really enjoyed it.
Right.
But
Right.
my 10 out of 10s are always going to be typically reserved for like the dramas, the thrillers, all of that. So,
Right.
that's just a personal choice though. I know that everyone has different opinions about their 10 out of 10s. Um, but that's why I give it 9 out of 10 tubs of popcorn. But overall, I love this movie. It was really, really fun to watch. And honestly, I could definitely see myself rewatching it in like the next few months.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It has a lot of rewatchability on it. But yeah, I really like that critique or that the way that you say it. I think that's a good way of keeping these films, like you said, reserved for your 10 out of 10s are, like you said, for you it's Carrie, Requiem for a Dream, these films, right? And
Yes.
I think that's a good point. I think the same way for me. Obviously, I've been saying 10 out of 10 a lot, but a lot of these films have been the ones that I've suggested, so obviously they're near and dear to my heart.
Absolutely.
Uh, but yeah, I agree with that. I think it's just you can jump in at any time and just have fun with it. It's just a classic movie.
Yeah, very classic. I really like this movie. This was a really good recommendation.
Yes, I agree. So, well, I'm glad you really liked it. One of the things I don't know if you ever have that thing, but like when you recommend a film to somebody that you really like this one for me, I really like this one, and when you show other people and they like it, to me, I'm like, oh, good, I'm so glad because this movie's near and dear to me.
Oh yeah, definitely. I feel like for me that type of movie would be like Carrie. Like that's such a near and dear movie to my heart. So like if I showed someone and they didn't like it, like I would actually like that would hurt my feelings.
Right, right, because you're like, well, I thought you
Definitely.
really like it, and this is something that I really like.
Yes. So I definitely agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, so, but yeah, that's good. Well, I'm glad we got to watch this one. Um, and we'll do our movie recommendation this week. I'll go first. My movie recommendation for the week is the 1984 classic Ghostbusters. Um, almost like this one, it's one of my favorite 80s movies. Not my favorite, not the favorite, but one of my favorites. Um, I kind of picked it because for me, Back to the Future is a hard one to get anything similar to it because it's just so unique, you know.
100%.
Um, but the reason I picked Ghostbusters is because it's an 80s movie as well. It's hilarious, and I think it has a lot of cultural relevance. Just not as much as Back to the Future, but similar to it. Um, I really like the plot of it. I like the characters. I like the ghosts that come out.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a really good, funny movie that kind of like this one has a lot of rewatchability. So I highly recommend that to anybody that's interested in it, and I think they'll like it.
Awesome. That's a really good recommendation.
Thank you. So, what's yours?
Okay, so I thought about this so for the audience, we typically kind of go over our movies that we recommend just to make sure we're not repeating each other and all of that good stuff. And originally I was going to recommend Pretty Woman because I love that movie.
Yeah, good
It's
one.
like a 1990 film. Really, really good movie, but I'm actually going to change that. And
Oh, okay.
so while we were, obviously doing this podcast, it kind of popped in my mind of one good movie that is from the 80s that you are going to agree with.
Okay, let me hear it.
Dun da da da. And my movie recommendation is Stand By Me.
Ooh, yes.
I love the book. I remember reading it in middle school and just being so infatuated with it. And then the
Yeah,
movie itself is just so good. The plot is so good. The characters are good. Even just the actors, point blank, like they're so young, but they're so good. So, and of course, I mean, Stand By Me, I feel like has such a big cultural relevance. Um,
right.
it's parodied a lot, like Family Guy, for example. And, if Family Guy's doing it, then it must mean it's good.
Yeah.
But that's my movie recommendation. I feel like if you like this movie, you would definitely like Stand By Me.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good choice. It's a really good choice because while it's not like science fiction, and technically I would not consider Ghostbusters science fiction, I consider it more like, I don't know, like supernatural maybe.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, but yeah, so while Stand By Me is not a sci-fi movie at all, it's a drama. I agree. I kind of like we mentioned, it takes you back to the 80s. Or, well, they're not 80s, but it takes you back to a different time because I think they're like, what, in the 50s or 60s?
Yeah.
Something like that, right?
Yeah, I think
But
so. Yeah, I think it is.
it,
I want to say 60s.
it could be 60s, yeah. But it takes you back to that time, so it's a time capsule of the time, kind of like this one is, right?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, and it's just a really good story. It's a good coming of age story. It's probably my favorite coming of age story, and it has one of my favorite actors, River Phoenix.
Rest in peace.
R.I.P. Yeah, and he's just great in this role. And then all the other kids, they're so young, but the performances that they do, like movies with kid actors, it's hard because you rely so much on them, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And they can either make or break the movie. And this one, they definitely make the movie.
Exactly. Like they're just so good. The plot is so good. I mean, even, the book is amazing. So if you guys have not even like read the book, I do recommend that you read the book. It's a good read. Um, Overall, just great choice. So that's my movie recommendation for this week's episode.
Definitely, I love that one. I love that recommendation, and hopefully we can review that movie because I love that one, and
Yeah, we
I just
definitely
want an
should.
excuse. I would just want an excuse to watch it again.
I knew when I was thinking of it, I was like, he's gonna like this one. This one's gonna be a win in his book.
Yeah, no, that's a really good one. I like that one. Um, but yeah, if you don't have anything else to add,
I don't.
I don't as well. So I think we can wrap up this episode of the Movie Hour. Thank you guys for listening, and we will see you on the next one. See ya.
All right. See ya.
See ya.